Welcome to From the Pitch to Purpose. Pew, 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 pew. That was my own sound effect, if you couldn't tell. I am Sammie Bee. My government name is Samantha Brand. I also go by Sam, Sammy, Samo, Schmo, Bubba, Samwise Gamgee. I've been called a professional soccer player. I've most recently started writing, so I've been an author, published author. Whoop, whoop. I have been called a speaker. I have been called a poet. I have been called gorgeous, mostly by my mom. But my favorite name is Mom. All of these titles are me. They're parts of me. But my least favorite name is Widow. That is one of the transitions you're going to hear about in this podcast. This podcast is called From the Pitch to Purpose, and it's just going to be about every life transition that my family and friends go through. These are going to be people just like you and me, not celebrities, there might be some. We're hoping Oprah just responds to my Instagram live. But anyways, some of the things we talk about are going to be hard to listen to. If you need to take a break and listen to it later, make sure you're in a good headspace, do that. But honestly, I cannot wait to share my favorite people with you. Welcome to From the Pitch to Purpose. H-I-J-K. Welcome back. In that first episode, you heard from my daughter, the youngest of the Brand family. And now I would love for you to hear from my mother and my sister, two people who definitely had a huge impact on my life. Shirley Dorsonville Brand and my name is Samantha. My sister's name is Daphne. We have the same middle name, so it's not that weird that I said that. Daphne Brand, and I cannot wait for you to hear their nuggets. You're going to get this in 2 parts, maybe 3, because you kind of have to, pace yourselves with the Brand women. If you've met me, I'm a lot, so if you could only imagine who raised me. Here we go, my mom and my sis.
What was the first question?
Well, first I'm going to introduce you guys, or if you want to introduce yourself.
I'm Mom. I'm Shirley Brand.
Your mom, you're Shirley Brand. Is that all you are?
I don't know what else I am. What should I be? Oh, I don't know. I'm grandma. I'm an auntie. I'm a sister. I'm all the things. I'm a wife. A widow. I'm all the things.
All the things. Daphne, my sweet sister. Want to introduce yourself?
I'm Daphne. I am a managing partner for a restaurant brand. So I spend a lot of my days babysitting adults in restaurants. We call that inspiration, though. We call that inspiring others. We call it developing people. Human development is what we call it. That's what I'm in charge of.
That's a great answer.
Talk about your job, man.
She asked me what I do.
Oh, I thought she said who you were.
Yeah.
Well, who I am is Daphne.
I did ask who she was, and she decided to tell me her job description, which says a lot about Daphne.
That's exactly right. That's 100% right. Because there's not much else there. This is just who I am right now.
Just what you're doing.
This is the character profile I've chosen on my action RPG of my life.
I can see you just bouncing. Choose
Yeah.
your character.
This is the character I've chosen for this season of my life. So yeah, that's me.
Let me start with you, the monarch of our family mother. What has been your biggest transition in life? You are how old?
I am 63 years old.
Yes.
And my biggest transaction is being without Dad.
Your biggest transition, yeah.
Transaction.
I feel like transaction means
it's transition.
Something you don't think it means?
Transition.
That word means what you think it means?
I don't think it means what you think it means.
No, it doesn't. It means my transition is becoming a widow. That's been my biggest transition.
Feel that, for sure.
Not sure I'll be able to beat that.
Yeah, I probably should have opened with you, Daphne.
Yeah, what are you doing? Shift the conversation completely. No, I'm just kidding.
What's been your biggest transition?
Quite a bit of transitions.
My biggest transition in life was moving from being a musician and artist to a full-time worker in the food industry. I'd say.
That's a good one. That was a heavy transition.
Well, Mom, I think that becoming a widow for me is very different than for you. You had 40 plus years with Dad, and I can see how that would be not just a transition, but like a relearning of yourself. You know, relearning who you are without him, which you haven't had to do in almost half a century, which is insane. So, what do you think surprised you the most about becoming a widow?
All the things that he did that I didn't remember, and I just not
Didn't
knowing.
realize.
Just he was more than half of me, because we kind of grew up together. So he is more than half of me. So that's what surprised me. And it's continuing to surprise me, because the longer I go without him, the more I feel that.
Even like the mundane things. We talked about how he cleaned out the refrigerator for you, or he cleaned the fan
all the fans
blades.
And all the solar power took care of there's just more than I can do. I think I'm thinking, what did I give to the relationship?
No, Dad wouldn't have eaten food ever. Wouldn't have eaten food, and he probably would have thrown a lot more batons at his students had he not had you.
This is true.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
What about you, Daph? What surprised you the most about going from kind of like a entrepreneurial mindset to a corporate mindset? Because as a singer, that's kind of how life is for a little while, isn't it?
No, I no, because I was never an entrepreneur as an artist, ever. That wasn't my strength when I was doing music. In fact, it was my weakness. My strength as an artist was creativity and like an aspect of shine, so to speak, of like exuding a certain level of energy that others could understand and benefit from. So I was never an entrepreneur. I had other people around me to do those kinds of things and be motivated on that level. So like what surprised me wasn't necessarily any of that shifting from this to that. It was the surprising was the resilience that the mind can have when you die. So like when you lose something that like being an artist or doing something that you're ostensibly meant to do or that you are built to do or that your whole being is connected to, when you lose that part of yourself, you theoretically die. And so when you shift into another character, right, that is is an entirely not necessarily fabricated, but it's an entirely different person than you are, you realize what the human mind is capable of doing and the resilience behind it. You realize, and it's not even that the shifting into the technical aspect of a different career was difficult at all. It was actually really easy. It's one of the easiest things I've ever done. Shifting careers is not hard because I'm good at a lot of things. It was shifting my paradigm, what filled my bucket, which was the hardest part. I would say of my transition is just like learning how to be something else when at your core you're something, right? And how to present that or how to move throughout the day, you know. So, you know, so when I was an artist and I had certain levels of emotion or thought, or when I was in the flow state, I could present those things on paper musically or on record musically. So now when I feel those same urges for creativity, I have to express them in different ways in the workplace, which is strange. And so yeah, I learned a lot about what I'm capable of, even while doing things that are not necessarily what I was made of, if that makes any sense.
What is that? Did that happen to you as well, Mom? When you have to realize how much you've got to do on your own now?
I'm definitely capable of doing things. I just have to learn how to do them. And I can do them. I just don't want to.
Yeah.
I think that's the ultimate thing is what's holding me back is the lack of desire.
I definitely do it begrudgingly because it's like it's a learning curve for sure.
But even Dad always said part of being an adult or part of being an existing member of society or the planet Earth is doing things that you don't want to do.
Absolutely.
Because if everybody didn't do things it didn't want to do, nothing would happen, right?
Nothing would get done.
Which is why I got into the workforce to begin with.
So it still gets done. It just, and trying to find, if I can't do it, then I'll find someone who can, And that's the difficult part, is finding people that, are capable of doing it, and are experienced at doing it, and all the things. It's kind of strange because Los Angeles is such a small town. It's hard to find good quality help.
Yeah.
But that's not even just in Los Banos these days. I'm in one of the most popular areas of Sacramento. I'm in a popular restaurant in a popular area in a thriving spot, and finding good help is hard to find no matter where you are, because we've shifted in this culture after COVID of people being comfortable doing the minimal to get a check, or being comfortable where they are, and people don't want to be outside and working. They don't, especially this new generation coming up, and forgive me for saying this because they're probably mostly your fan base, Sam, but like, they don't want to work, and they want the hours, but then when they get the hours, they don't want them. It's too hard, or they don't want to meet expectations because they think it's too much, or they don't want to do it because they think they're underpaid. And frankly, I'm one of the most high-paying restaurants in the area, but it's just a paradigm shift in a new generation of people who just don't want to work, and or they don't know what the work entails. So when they finally do the work, they're like, oh, this isn't really. Can you take a lesser part of me?
I think it's strange because I fall kind of in that gap. I think coming from a job that I had, which was so much physical and everything, that I've been challenged, and what surprised me is how much mental gymnastics I have to do any other type of job. So soccer was not a mental gymnastics. Like you said, when you're doing something you're built to do, like it comes naturally, or you desire to do it because I think soccer was always like that for me. I didn't even have to train much in my career. Imagine if I did, though. Imagine if I was as committed as some of my other teammates. But so now having to work hard because I started over has been a whole mental shift. Being a novice at something, because soccer was something I did since I was 3. So being a complete novice and feeling like I'm 35, starting at a lot of people's 21-year-old life. Because people come out of college, they're bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, no children, nothing. They start a career, da-da-da. I did that, but I just chose such an unorthodox career that I don't feel very qualified for many things, even though.
Well, the challenging part, too, is, like, as an athlete, me personally as a former athlete, like, you would think it'd be, when you push your body to a certain limit, and you're in flow or whatever it is, and you're good at it, and that's what you're doing, right? It's completely the easiest thing in the world to pass the point of no return and just to continue to push through pain. It's easy as heck. I pushed through fracturing both my wrists during a soccer game and continue to play, fracturing ankles, dislocated hip, pushing through pain constantly. It becomes normal. You begin to ignore pain, right? And those your mind going stop, because you're tired, right? Or when you're lifting weights, or when you're running, you're pushing through that because you're like, I know I can continue. I know I can put a few more steps in, right, to the finish line. But when you're in a new field, and your body goes, I don't feel like it, and I don't want to, or your mind does that thing, it's a different part of your brain to push through. It's a cerebral thing.
Yeah.
That it's almost like depression,
yeah.
Right? Pushing through that's a lot harder than pushing through your body's reflexes to want to stop because you're tired. So it's a lot like that when you're in a new field and you're trying to push through that imposter syndrome, or that breaking point where you just don't feel like going to work, or feel like applying for that job, or feel like any of that. That's a lot harder to push through than physical
running
fatigue.
An extra. Yeah. But then I guess, what is the time that you wanted to quit and just give up and you didn't?
For me, it was when I was getting passed over for positions that I was highly qualified for, or that I worked hard for. There's a huge disparity in terms of like gender diversity in the workforce. Women in leadership roles is far and few between. It's getting better because it's becoming more highlighted.
Yeah.
But even women get paid on average about 80% of what a male makes in the same field. It's just unfortunately the ground we're built on as a gender, and so that was really challenging, is being passed over just because of relationships I didn't have, or being a woman, or that was really tough, but even more so when I met people in my field that had lacked integrity or lacked the same drive or lacked the same perseverance or lacked the same grit that I did. That was really hard to work side by side with people who did not care as much as I did. And one of my very first leaders always said to me is, Daphne, your bar is so high for yourself, you cannot imagine or you cannot expect others to meet your same bar, because if people were raised differently or they came from different backgrounds or they just don't have the same drive as you do. So you have to give others grace to a certain extent.
That's what my boss told me at the dental school too. He said my expectations were so high that nobody's going to be able to reach them. I'm the only one who can reach my own expectations.
Yeah, so when you have a bunch of people around you not meeting your expectations, it becomes emotionally draining and really exhausting, because then you feel like you're the only one who cares, and that's hard too. So not only am I in a field, sometimes in a field where I'm not really necessarily, I wouldn't say meant for, because I think that's really subjective and kind of unimportant to say, so to speak, but in a field that I never thought I would be in, right? But also around people who are also in the same field, not giving the same amount of energy, but that's just who I am. So that's also really challenging.
That's when the girl said to me at our our one-to-one, and when she said to me, if you pay me another, I think, $5 an hour, I'll give you 100%. I said, well, what percentage are you giving us now? And my boss looked at me, he's like, you're asking so much. I said, we're not giving her $5.
We're asking the job.
I'm asking her just to do her job.
The job. And that's what I deal with on a regular basis.
Yeah, but he said we can't keep the employees that we ask so much for them. I said, I just want her to give 100% like everybody else is doing and not have to pay her more to do it.
What's a time then this last year and a half, Mom, that you've really wanted to just quit, but
Oh man.
one big one, because I know it's been a whirlwind in the last couple of years.
It has been. Well, I think that every time I do another fundraiser, and people are constantly telling me they're gonna be there and they don't show up, or I end up. And it's funny. It's how I always end up by myself doing the work at the very end. Remember, I told you it was just me by myself closing the gates, and I thought to myself, once again, it's just me doing this work by myself.
But Dad was always there.
Yes, he was always there, or he would be talking to me on the phone, saying, I said, he'd keep me on the phone so that I wasn't by myself. He'd say, I told you not to stay so late, but I have to get the job done. Somebody has to do the job, because they take the credit, but they don't do the job, which is unfortunate. So, it's not like I wanted to quit. It's just, I'm just frustrated that not everybody takes it as personal or as serious as I do. But then at the end of the day, it's my job. So,
Well, what makes you keep going in those moments where you're just like, well, here we are again?
because we have to take care of the family. I have to work. It's not like I want to work. I want to stay home and clean the house and take care of the house, so you guys won't have to go through it like I'm going through it. But I want to organize the house, and so it'll be a place that you guys don't have to, when I pass away, you guys don't have to go through all that junk on your own. But I'd like to be able to do that, and I've been planning on it for years. So I'd like to be able to sort out the house. But that's a job in itself. That is a 40-hour-a-week job.
What are you, Daph? What kept you going when you just wanted to quit? When you were, especially with after COVID and all that happened with that.
I'm not a quitter. That's just kind of what it is. It's not within me. I've got a lot of grit and a lot of heart, and almost to a fault. Not to mention all the people who are phenomenal around me. Every time I think about stepping back, because I know that I'm highly qualified to be for either a higher paying gig or more, I think about the people that do believe in me and do match my level of energy. And ultimately speaking, like I recently did like a personality test, and I am at the core also a developer, also care a lot about being a leader. And I get a lot of satisfaction is the wrong word, but I get a lot of it fills my bucket to see others succeed. So as I'm developing others and seeing them rise, it brings me a lot of joy to see them see successes in themselves. So at the end of the day, even though again this is not the field that I was meant to be in, I have a lot of opportunity to make others or help others become better versions of themselves. And so there's that little voice in the back of my head that says, push on, continue on. We're almost there. And then I see the faces of the people's lives that I'm helping change, and it helps motivate me.
I think a big part of that is who we watched as we were raised. Like, I think, Mom, I think you're one of the most generous people I've ever met in my life, and you'll help whoever you come across, and you help whoever you love, and they don't have to love you back, you'll still help them. And I think that we learned that fulfillment, and we saw you raise many people's children, and we saw you care about them. And also I remember watching Dad just like open his band room to kids at lunch who might otherwise not have a safe place to eat lunch, and talk to the kids about all their everything. There is one story that really touched me. The office had refused to change this individual's name. They go by Gabe, and they kept putting Gabriella on the sign-in sheet, but on Dad's personal attendance, he crossed out every word that it said Gabriella and put Gabe. And I got to share that with Gabe, because I mean, obviously as a substitute for Dad, I did their role, and they were like, no, it's Gabe, and I could see the disappointment, and I pulled them aside and was like, you know what? On my dad's sheet, it says Gabe, crossed out. And I think that those are the types of things that we got to see from you guys. And Mom, you are if nothing else, someone who's going to push your kids to be the greatest that they can be. And I used to explain you as, you'd set a bar, and right as I almost got to that bar, you'd raise it. And I think that in some ways that was obviously frustrating as a kid, but also it's something that I think it became parts of who I am, at least. And I know that parts of Daphne, I can see she strives for greatness, and I think that comes from you always knowing that there's more in us, and you might not say it to us, but like when I talk to other people about what you say to other people about us, I hear how much you brag about us, and I hear how much you're always singing our good graces and everything. I think that was something that we got from you guys. We saw how generous you can be, but also how hardworking you can be, and also how kind you can be. And we also saw you guys fulfilled by helping children, and I think, or helping other people. Because Dad could have been so many things.
Yes, he could.
He could have been so many things, and he ended up enjoying just kids, and you can see the pride when he'd lift up his baton every time. You'd see pride in him. Yeah. And it was something that, was really well respected, and
that's true.
And I think we're all that way. I think we all, can command a room, and I think that's because you and Dad could.
Yeah, especially Dad.
Yeah, they said, I can't remember who spoke, but they were talking about how Dad could quiet a room by just lifting his hand.
Yes.
And I did that in a classroom the other day, and I was like, I almost giggled, because I was like, they all stopped talking. They all stopped talking when I lifted my hand. I've got the power of my dad's hand, and it was amazing. But I think that you guys were that example for us. As I'm hearing Daphne explain how hard she works to make others happy, it's just like, I know that that's a big influence from you guys. And I think that it has led to so many amazing things. Daphne, what's like one of the biggest accomplishments that you could think of?
That's a really difficult question, and without sounding really off-putting, I've had a lot. So I can't tell you how much I can't really even put a finger on anything really. But I will say,
buying your first house.
I will say,
source of success.
It wasn't the things of buying the house or getting my promotion to where I'm at or any of those things. It was like, if I'm being honest, it was like the pride I saw in my dad's face when those accomplishments happened too. Because I always knew I was going to buy a house. I have a plan. I'm a planner. I planned it out. I was 3 years behind because of COVID, but I told Mom and Dad this was the plan. I was maybe, I want to say 3 months behind on that plan. but I had a plan in place. It's really the pride in your mentor's eyes when they see you realize your goals that really kicks it into the end zone for me. Because as much as I was really proud of myself signing all those papers in the middle of a restaurant bar with the guy. I didn't even know the guy.
Yeah.
I didn't even know the guy who helped me sign the house. He was some lawyer who came with a stack 3 inches deep of papers that I had to sign. And we shared a couple of IPAs back to back. I think we each drank 3 beers in the middle of that pub as I signed every page to get this house. And that was great. The moment that I told the family at the table that I got it, or the moment when I told, I got to tell Dad that I got managing partner. There was that feeling. That feeling felt really good. Just because I was more like, I could see in his eyes that I was going to be okay, or that he finally had that reassurance that like I was going to be okay. Because I think as a father, you take on that role of like making sure that you train them up in the way they should go. Father figures take on a lot of that responsibility to train us up, like him trying to teach us how to light a grill. Him
Singeing his eyebrows off.
How to spackle, him trying to teach me how to change my oil, him trying to teach me how to, he was constantly teaching me ways to be self-sufficient, right?
Right.
So mom had her own thing that she taught me how to be kind to others and be respectful.
Speak in front of thousands of people.
To be inspirational. She taught me how to connect with others, how to make deep connections that are not just surface area. Mom taught me and Dad taught me hard skills. So I had soft skills from Mom and hard skills from Dad. And Dad always said, the first thing that Dad taught me was when I asked him what the definition of a word was, and I can't remember what word it was, but he sent me to the encyclopedias. So the first thing my dad ever taught me was find the answers on your own. You don't have to know everything. Just be confident to find the answers on your own. Mm-hmm. So like hard skills for Dad, and I knew that he tried really hard to make sure that we were going to be okay. And so I think that when I crossed those milestones, seeing that pride was a big accomplishment. I'd say also like I got a lot of people in the past few years promoted to, so their lives would be better. Those are great accomplishments. But I don't know. I think that Mom's right. Like the most recent accomplishments were really impactful for me.
What's crazy is like I'm not the same kind of planner as you, and I think for a long time that made me feel like that was a weakness. But I couldn't have lived like that. Like prior to college, I kind of was a planner. I planned to get a soccer scholarship. I decided at 9 years old I was going to be a professional soccer player, and that's exactly what I did. And that's great, and it's very targeted and whatnot. But after college, I think because my life had been so structured by soccer and everything, I ended up starting to live in seasons. All I would plan was the next 6-month season. And I started to live like that. And so I think right before, when I finally had a baby in my belly and was married and all those things, it was the first time that I started to plan past a season. Nothing was going to be temporary in my life ever again. I was always going to have been someone's wife. I was always going to be a mother. Those things weren't going to ever be temporary. And I think that was a really cool thing that I'm happy that Dad got to see before, he passed. But I think that also made me kind of terrified for the same reasons you're saying that you were happy about your accomplishments. I was really sad that Dad wasn't going to be able to see maybe my biggest accomplishments like that. Like he's not going to get to see me buy my first house or things like that, but he did get to do the wedding. He did get to see my first child and those things. So it's like, those are great things and stuff, but
so he's gotten to see both your milestones, which is really neat.
But different too.
Different ones, yeah, for
too.
sure.
Like it's completely different. And although like it's never the one thing that I always remember is that it's never too late to shift your paradigm or to shift the way you do things. And part of the reason why I plot things out is because it's so important to set short and long-term goals so you can start celebrating the wins. I think we get caught up in the grind and the grind and the grind and the grind and the grind. And short-term and long-term goals help you come to a point where you remember to celebrate where you've come from, where you've been, and what you've accomplished. And even small, meaningless, theoretically, can give you more confidence towards long-term goals, no matter how seemingly small the short-term goals might be. And I think that as you move into this next phase where you are planning things further out with your daughter, though, you'll see yourself just naturally starting to plan things out because of necessity.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that it's been kind of nice to be grounded there. I had a really big choice, obviously, to either stay in the States or go back to Sweden. And I think that I had ended up spending almost a year with Dad in those last 8 months. And it was the first time my feet had been planted somewhere for 8 months. And I actually got to decide that they were planted there. No one was asking me to go play somewhere. No one was asking me, I didn't feel the guilt of taking Freya out of Sweden. All those things, I just knew I was exactly where I was supposed to be, which was next to Dad. And I think that was the first time in a long time. And then the second everything kind of shifted again, where the need for me to be in the house wasn't as big, my immediate thing is to bail, just to leave, go, run. I am all flight. I have no fight in me, and that is when I hear a loud sound or in life, I'm all flight. And so I really try to stay grounded and be in one spot. And that was a really big learning curve for me, to be in one location for more than 6 months. And I sacrificed a lot to do that, a lot of things that I had going for me in Sweden, but I think that it was necessary for me to know who I am without movement. And honestly, it's led to, and not exactly, and not, and I didn't have soccer in a very immediate way, and that was the first time as well. And so that was this last year of not, I don't know that I've touched the ball in 2023, maybe twice in 2023, and that is also my emotional release, and so I've had to rely on the other skills that you guys gave me, which was writing and creativity. And I always tell people how amazing it was that you guys gave us those things, because in these types of seasons where I couldn't play, I had an obligation of being home with my daughter. I couldn't just run off and play whenever I felt like it. It also wasn't as accessible. I got to fall back on things that I also knew would make you guys proud, which was writing. And it was these creative outlets that you guys also made sure we knew were important. I remember you saying to me once, well, your legs aren't going to work forever. What else are you going to do? Or when I was on my first contract in Iceland, I was so depressed. And you said, well, you never just play soccer, Sam. Go find something else. Go to a movie. Go pick up an instrument. And so I picked up the guitar and tried to learn that. And so I just think that we were given so many outlets with you guys. And that's also why Daphne is excelling where she is now, because you gave her people skills. We did speech with you. We did, all these things. And I think that those lifelong lessons that we learned from you two are just kind of magnificent. And we are, what did you call me, a succulent plant? Where you're just going to grow where you're planted. And I think you created 3 succulent plants who are just going to make it work where we are, And I think that is just a really beautiful thing. But what about you, Mom? What is your biggest accomplishment besides us beautiful children of yours? Besides the third, especially.
Besides being married to Dad.
Yes. Well, no, that could be it.
That's my biggest accomplishment. Is leaving, because I didn't leave home till I married Dad. That was a big one for me, because I was the last one to leave home.
In the most successful marriage.
Yeah, and so, I don't know who it was. One of my bridesmaids or something said, "It's never gonna work, Shirley. You can never settle down." And I just thought, why would you think that about me? And so I thought that was interesting. She was my best friend, Sherry, and she says, you just can't settle down. You're so flighty. So that was my biggest accomplishment. He was my best friend. He was everything. So I've done other things. I always feel good when I finish a fundraiser and work so hard for it, and all the plays that I'm doing and all that. That's good. That's fun. But that was my greatest one. I think so. To date.
It's pretty awesome.
Man, I cannot tell you how amazing it was to just sit down with my family and just talk. And my sister, my mom, we don't necessarily stop moving very often. So this was a really rare and unique time for us where my daughter was asleep, the dogs were asleep, everyone was asleep, and we just got to sit and talk as adults and not necessarily as mom, sister, sister. It was more like I got to hear how they are as people, and I think that's a very rare thing for me. And honestly, all these things that we were talking about, it was great to hear them explain themselves as they are today, and not as I remember everything, and not as, I'm the youngest of five. These are my elders in my family. These are people who I truly look up to, and also people who give me advice constantly and people who mother me, and that I call my sister one of my accountability people. She keeps me accountable, so when I call her and I'm off my rocker, she's like, bro, that's not really life. So it was really nice to just ask them about themselves and give them the space to talk about who they think they are versus who I have made them to be in my brain. And also to hear just how much immense love we have for my dad, and we got to just sit and like talk about his influence on us. And my mom saying that one of her biggest accomplishments being my dad, marrying my dad, is like so beautiful in so many ways. And also it gives me a little bit of hope because I feel, hopefully I get to be loved like that again. And if not, I know my husband loved me as hard as my dad loved my mom. And that I needed to remember that in my journey right now. So please, please, please like, subscribe, all the things that I'm supposed to say at the end of a podcast. Do all those things. Leave a review, 5 stars. If you didn't like it, don't leave a review. And I love you. Go tell someone they're awesome today.
A B C D E F
H-I-J-K.
quietly.
Oh, quietly.
Grandma's sleeping.
Grandma's not even here.
No. Mommy.
A, B, C, D,
E F G H I J K L M N O P Q R E S E Q R E S E Q X Y and Z. Now I know it only.
Okay.
A now A B C D Q Y S J K L M N O P Q Y.
Now I know.
My ABC. Next time, do it.
Next time, won't you?
Let me.